014 is here, and it's been one of the best wipes in recent history. The big story about this wipe is that recoil and armor have been reworked. Vaulting has been added. We got a new starting map called Ground Zero. Streets has been expanded with a few new areas, a new boss named Kollantay, and the BTR Taxi. Shoreline got a rework, a new area, and a car extract. Shturman got his own unique voice, so he doesn't sound like a scav anymore. And all the maps are currently covered in snow. I think this is going to be dubbed the Snow Wipe. I'm Sarah Hartz. Let's talk about patch 014 for Escape from Tarkov. The big story of this wipe is that the recoil system has been reworked. Essentially, it rewards you for controlling your shots and punishes you for going into a full spray. To demonstrate that, we're going to use the SIG Spear to show the difference between tap fire, bursting, and full auto. Tap fire is shooting one bullet at a time as fast as possible. This gives you the greatest degree of accuracy in exchange for fire rate. This is good for medium to long ranges, and this is how I would recommend using most rifles and DMRs. Bursting requires more effort in terms of recoil control and recentering on the target. It still maintains a reasonable amount of accuracy, but also gives you a randomness that your weapon might bounce up and give you a free headshot. However, Capfire is superior in terms of accuracy, speed, and control. Full auto is very difficult to control with a lot of the shots missing the target. This is the lowest degree of accuracy but the highest rate of fire. This is basically only good or effective at short ranges or close quarters combat. Basically, this new recoil system wants to reward you for controlling your shots and punish you for going into a spray. Now, Escape from Tarkov is a very complex game, so for every rule there is always an exception. There are some guns that are extremely accurate in full auto and some weapons in semi-auto that are not very accurate. For them to perfect this, they need to tweak the weapons individually, but overall this system is a great improvement for the game. It has made more weapons usable and more weapons fun to use, and as a consequence of the new recoil, a lot of the optics and sights have been fixed and are now usable again. So overall, this system is fantastic for the game. Job well done. It just needs a little tweaking for certain weapons and it'll be very good. As a side note, with the old recoil system, the way that sprays would work is they would initially start with harsh recoil, and as the spray would continue, they would get more neutral and flat, making the weapon easier to control. With this new system, it feels more progressive where it starts neutral, and as the spray continues, the recoil gets more and more harsh. I think this is a much better system for this type of a game. Additionally, with this rework, point fire, aka hip fire, is now horrible. I've had some really embarrassing deaths trying to take advantage of point fire the way that I would in previous wipes. It is not good anymore in any way at all. It's extremely inaccurate and not effective. If you're shooting at a player, if you're shooting at a scav, always aim down the sights. Don't try to use point fire. It is not good anymore. Admittedly, point fire is a bit better if you have the laser on, but I still would not rely on it. I would still aim down the sights rather than try and hip fire. Moving on to the armor rework. Players this wipe have experienced a great deal of frustration dying to the armpit hitbox, because the expectation is that they're wearing a level 4 armor, kind of like this one, and their thorax is protected. But then they die to an armpit shot because this area here has no protection. And that is a good introduction to the new armor system, because one of the most important things now is coverage. The amount of your character that the armor physically covers is now very important. In the previous armor system, the main way that we would discuss the difference between a good armor or a bad armor was talking about the armor's class. So for example, a class 5 is better than a class 4. Now, when we talk about the difference between a good armor and a bad armor, we're mainly talking about coverage and what class of armor is that coverage. So to explain that, we're going to look at two examples. The first example will be the Tagilla, which is a level 6 armor, compared to the 6B13, which is a level 4, compared to the Yuli, which is also a level 4. The Tagilla armor is a level 6 armor, but it is now considered bad because the amount of coverage it gives you is very, very small. So if you get shot in the area that has level 6 protection, you'll probably be alright. However, the majority of your hitbox is fully exposed with no protection at all. So because of this, the Tagilla armor is now considered bad. The 6B13 is a level 4 armor only where the plate is. The rest of the armor has integrated level 2 protection. So that means only this blue area is your level 4 protection, and the rest of the green area is level 2 protection. That's why the Yuli in this comparison is considered great, because it gives you the largest surface area of level 4 protection compared to the other armors. So if you're wearing the Yuli and you get shot from the front or the back, you have the largest area of protection. However, you have no protection at all from the side, whereas the 6B13, it does offer left side and right side protection, but only level 2. This is one of the big differences between level 4 and level 5 armors. Level 5 armors allow you to put plates on the side to protect yourself from the side, not only from the front and back. So let's look at some level 5 examples. Here we have the Korund, the Giselle, and the Gen 4. These are all level 5 armors with specific things about each to talk about. With the Korund, the plates are level 5, but the integrated armor is level 2. When you compare that to the Giselle, which also has level 5 plates, but the integrated armor is level 3, that means the Giselle offers you a stronger level of protection in the areas where the plates are not. Speaking of the Korund's plate though, the Korund's front plate is 2 separate plates that share the same armor points. So if you get shot in the stomach protecting plate, that means your chest protecting plate will have less armor points to offer you protection. This is kind of a bad thing because these are physically 2 separate plates, but they share the same armor points. For that reason, and the fact that the Korund has level 2 integrated armor, it is considered a weak level 5. When you look at the Giselle armor, which has plates level 5 and integrated level 3, it's a much stronger armor. However, both the Giselle and the Korund will let you down if you get shot in the armpit. That's where armors like the Gen 4 come in, because the Gen 4 has level 5 plates and level 3 integrated. However, it has right shoulder and left shoulder protection. This does not completely cover the armpit hitbox, but it does partially cover the armpit hitbox. So players are wearing armors with shoulder protection in the hope that they will experience less frustrating deaths to getting shot in the armpit hitbox. That's why armors like the Gen 4 and the Osprey are considered strong armors with this current design of the game. Alright, so what do I think about the changes to the armor system? Well, I don't hate it, I don't really like it either. Of course, when I die to an armpit shot, I'm very upset, but in general, it's not that bad. I do think it's kind of weird, though, to have an armor system like this, but not have a vital organs system as well. So, for example, it doesn't make sense to me that the armor is stronger in some places and weaker in others, but the thorax takes equal damage regardless of where it gets hit. So, like for example, in the current version of the game, if you get shot directly in the heart, or you get grazed on the side, both of these shots connecting would do equal damage to your thorax. Whereas I think with this kind of an armor system, there should be like a vital organ system where if you get shot in the heart, it does massive damage to the thorax. Whereas if you get grazed on the side, it's not a critical vital organ area, so the damage to the thorax is reduced. With some sort of system like this, I think having armors that protect more strongly in one area than another makes a lot more sense. And who knows, maybe a vital organ system is coming next wipe. Vaulting has been added, and it is one of the best quality of life improvements for movement that we've gotten in a long time. A lot of the things as players we got used to that's really jank and really awkward is completely solved with vaulting. Vaulting gives you new ways of getting into buildings, new ways of getting out, new routes to travel, new routes to go. If you're in danger, you no longer need to run all the way around a fence. You can just vault over it. It's an amazing addition. When they first showed it, I didn't think it was going to be that great, but now that I've played Tarkov with vaulting, I don't ever want to play Tarkov without it. It's awesome. It's one of the best features that they added this wipe. Ground Zero is the new map added this wipe. It's intended to be a starting map for new players. This map is only available to players up to level 20 on their PMCs, but you can scav into the map whenever you want. The map is aesthetically beautiful with large skyscrapers. I remember when Streets came out, I was thinking to myself, well, Streets is nice, but I guess what I had more in mind was downtown of Tarkov, and that's exactly what Ground Zero is. Beautiful skyscrapers, Terror Group headquarters. This is a smaller map, but it kind of plays like a larger factory. So it's not exactly the most beginner friendly. There's a high chance of PvP and a low chance of survival, especially when you have players in the level range of 15 to 20 who have access to equipment from the flea market, and they're stomping on players who are level 14 and below who don't have access to the flea market. It's kind of sad, it's kind of lame, but overall I think the map has more potential. I hope BSG is not done with it, and I look forward to seeing if they do more with it in the future. Alright, Streets. Streets got a few new areas. Around the theater area there is now a horse-themed restaurant. There is a real estate building that you'll need to visit for a quest. There's a small pharmacy that's also for a quest. Between Lexos and the small pharmacy there was this little cubby area that I guess they forgot about? Question mark? They added a police building, which is one of the new spawn locations for the boss Kollantay. They added a empty parking lot where at the end of it is a pharmacy that you'll need to visit for a quest. And there's probably many more things to find and explore, like a gentleman's club that I'm not allowed into. In terms of bosses, Kaban got 2 new unique guards, Gus and Bassmarch. They have a relatively slim appearance, as I've never seen them wearing body armor, and you can identify them by the fact that they have a black jacket, and each of them have their own unique black hat. The Gus baseball cap and the Bassmarch leather cap. The new boss Kollantay has been added, and he has 2 spawn locations. One, second story of the little mini mall next to the Pinewood Hotel and the Flare Extract, and the second being the new area, the police headquarters that has been added between the Pinewood Hotel and the Sewer Extract. Kollantay spawns with 4 guards, so when you're fighting him, you know you're going against 5 targets total. He also has a unique special ability to charge you and put a status effect on you called Panic Attack. This makes it so that when you shoot at him, your gun will jam. There's 2 reliable ways I found to get around this. 1, kill him before he charges you. 2, if the Panic Attack is applied to you, run away and break line of sight, wait for it to fall off, and then come back and try and attack him again.
Сейчас еще добавим!
The panic attack is kind of a weird one, so good luck with this guy. The BTR Taxi has been added on Streets, and it is a way that you can transport yourself around the map safely. You can pay for it to give you a ride, you can pay for it to provide covering fire so it'll shoot at PMCs or scavs while it's traveling to the location. You can pay for it to extract items from raid for you. A lot of people were very excited about this, and they were like, oh man, I'm gonna loot Streets 2 times in one raid, but then we saw that the loot space for the extraction was limited to an 8x2 space. So a lot of people lost interest in the feature once they saw it was so limited, but still, if you find something like a LED-X and you want to have it safely transported and then delivered to you later through the mail with the found in raid status, that's one thing that the BTR can do. A lot of players have developed distrust towards the BTR because they have experienced paying for the services and then getting out of it and then having it kill them. This happened a few times. This was a bug as far as I know. I think the bug has been fixed, but the distrust is still there, so in general, a lot of players just still avoid the BTR. You can tell if the BTR is going to shoot you because its turret will face towards your direction, and once it locks onto you, it will shoot. Shoreline got a rework, and it has got some epic changes. In terms of the map changing, the western approach to Resort has changed, as well as the eastern approach to Resort, but also on the east, there is a new car extract and a scavenger camp that has a lot of loot that you can just pick up off of the tables. Going a little bit further, the eastern side of the map has changed with a lot of little lakes and paths. So the east side is a little bit more verticality, so it's easier to travel without getting sniped. The radar station approach has been changed because before it was kind of comical that it was up on the rocks and it was like almost a vertical cliff. Now it looks a lot more realistic and makes a lot more sense. One of the biggest changes is that if you're going for the pier extract, there is now green smoke that lets you know the pier extract is available, which is an awesome change. Also, there is a fire truck on the east side of Resort that lets you vault up into the second story of the resort, so it's an alternative way of getting into the east side of the building. Shturman, the scav boss of Woods, now has a unique voice. Here's a couple examples of what it sounds like.
Не вижу его в прицеле. Он вышел из дистанции, потерял его. Он туда побежал. По готовности. Вижу его, закрываем. Он туда побежал. Куда он делся? Проверяем каждый угол. Стреляй, не слышно.
Alright, let's talk about the new guns in the game. There are 5 of them, starting with the RPD. For me, this gun is dead on arrival because when you tap fire it, it shoots lower than where you're aiming because of the iron sight. So if you're aiming at the chest, which is best for tracking the target left and right, you will be hitting them in the legs. So if you want to hit them in the chest, you got to aim at the head, which gives you very poor sight picture if the target moves to the left or the right. This is solved, however, by the RPD-N, which allows you to mount a sight. This way, if you're shooting at the chest, you will be hitting the chest. If you shoot at the head, you will be hitting the head. Wow! In general, these weapons are pretty cool and a bit of a vibe, but they will not be replacing things like a well-built 7.62 AK, Mutant, or RD704. Moving on to the 9A91, I think this has a bit too much recoil, and I would recommend using the VSK if you're interested in trying out one of these guns. In general, I think the VSK is more stable and more consistent. Both of these guns are limited to a 20-round magazine, so that's not really good. But they're intended to be the budget version of the VSS and ASVAL, so they don't perform as well, but they do shoot the same ammo. The SIG Spear, this is probably the new best weapon in the game. Think of it as an M4 that shoots big boy bullets. It is very accurate in tap fire, and with hybrid ammo, it is very effective. The main issue with this weapon is it is locked behind a quest that we don't really know what that quest is. So the only ways to reliably obtain a spear is to find it in marked rooms, or buy it from the flea market, but prices can be a little bit high. Lastly, it's not a new weapon, but I think it deserves a mention. The AUG is now extremely good. So are weapons like the G36, but the AUG has the most amount of improvement because it went from basically being unusable to being potentially one of the best 5.56s in the game. Last thing for you guys, the maps are covered in snow and I absolutely love it. I have been enjoying the snow so much. It has been so refreshing to see the maps that we've played for years in a new way, and the snow has made it so much easier to see people. The bushes are more thin. It has been awesome. I've heard recently people saying that they're getting tired of the snow, and I think when it's gone, people are going to miss it. So enjoy it while you can, and I hope you guys are having a wonderful wipe. That's all for me. Remember, it's a game, so go out there and have fun.